Welcome to the Silverstone Technology Cluster's Ask the Expert podcast. I'm Jeannie, your host. The mission of the STC is to support advanced engineering, electronics and software businesses, and we're always keen to share industry knowledge and insights. In each podcast episode, we sit down with seasoned professionals and industry leaders to uncover valuable knowledge, share real-world experiences, and explore smart strategies for navigating the challenges of modern business in advanced engineering. So this episode is brought to you by TC Group, a leading firm of accountants and business advisors with offices in Northampton and Milton Keynes. Welcome, and today I'm joined by Paula Seddon and Emma Ward from Buckingham University. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So before we get started, do you just want to tell me a little bit about yourselves and how you got to your current roles at Buckingham Uni?
Shall I go first?
Yep.
Hi, Emma Ward. I'm the head of apprenticeships at the University of Buckingham. Before I worked at the university, I worked at the council for Buckinghamshire Council.
Okay.
I worked there as an apprenticeship coordinator for about 7.5 years. And then before that, I worked for a national training provider. And that was 11.5 years working from trainee assessor all the way up to operations manager. So I've now been in apprenticeships for over 20 years. I think it may be about 22, 23 years, which seems crazy. But yeah, I absolutely live and breathe and love apprenticeships and what they stand for.
Brilliant.
So I don't have that amount of experience in
It's a hard act to
apprenticeships.
follow.
Yeah. I have been working in the apprenticeship team. So I'm Paula Seddon. I've been working in the apprenticeship team for just over a year and a half, coming up to 2 years. Before that, I worked at the university in a quality role. So I have worked in training roles in my career. And I was kind of one of the first apprenticeship type roles as a YTS. So back in 1986. A long time ago.
So that's a lot of experience,
yes.
really.
So I started my career as a YTS, which was working and earning and learning back in the day.
Okay, so today we're obviously here to talk about apprenticeships. A little bit, what I want to understand is what's the difference between the perception and the reality? So what are people still getting wrong about apprenticeships today?
Well, there's quite a few misconceptions, I think. The big one is that apprenticeships are just for young people, for school leavers, and actually anybody can do an apprenticeship. They are for any age and any level. There's levels right from kind of entry level, level 2, level 3, level 4, right through to level 7 and integrated degrees. So I think maybe that's one of the kind of big misconceptions, that they are for everybody.
I think one of the other things is that, for decades now, people have thought that apprenticeships are for the vocational type children.
Okay.
So that when they leave school, this is, if you're not academic, go and do an apprenticeship, which is completely not the narrative now. I think the government have done quite a lot to raise the profile of apprenticeships with the launch of integrated degree apprenticeships and also master's level apprenticeships. That's really helped to try and change the perception to show that apprenticeships are not only vocational but also academic as well. So I think although not everybody gives apprenticeships the kudos they deserve, they should, because if they looked into it more, they would see that the number of exciting careers and the level of attainment that you need to get academically to achieve the apprenticeship is just the same as universities.
Well, I think you've answered my next question already because I was going to ask why do apprenticeships struggle with that perception, but that's why, because people don't understand the amount of apprenticeships and the vast range of things that you can do through an apprenticeship program. So,
absolutely.
Okay, so if we're talking about employers now and employers who want to get apprenticeships, what's the main difference between the ones that are successful and the ones that are unsuccessful?
For me, I think the main thing is how engaged they are. The ones that are really engaged and they embed it in their kind of working practices, support and mentor their apprentice and see the value of it. Those are the ones that I think get the most value out of it. The ones that don't, who just see it as kind of free resources or cheap resources and see the apprenticeship as a tick box exercise, they're the ones that kind of don't get the value from it.
I think as well, it's employers that don't engage with those training providers.
Okay.
So they think, oh, okay, I've taken on an apprentice over to the training provider to deliver all of the training. It's just not realistic. So they need to invest the time and effort into working with the training provider to make sure that training is relevant to those apprentices in the workplace. and support them like you would any other employee. Quite often I'll speak with employers and they'll say, oh, having a problem with an apprentice, you as a training provider, what are you going to do about it? They're not turning up for work on time, for example. And I say, well, you should speak to them like you would any other employee. They are an employee. So I think they need to invest in them and treat them like they would any employees to get them work ready. I think that's the key. So I think employers really need to work with their training providers and make sure they've got mentors in the workplace, because we see, don't we, if they've got a mentor in the workplace, they tend to do really well. If they don't, they can tend to struggle, don't they?
Yeah. And the apprenticeship is a three-way relationship between the employer and the apprentice and the training provider. So when they work really well is when all of those people are engaged at the relevant times.
Communicating together.
Yeah, for the overall success of the apprentice.
Okay, so we're talking about employers supporting apprentices like they would any other employee. As a training provider, what kind of support do you provide to the employer? Are they getting enough support? Because I think maybe sometimes this is where it falls over, is that they don't feel like they're getting enough support. But what are the expectations there, and what kind of support can they expect?
So all training providers will do different levels of support for their employers. So one thing that we've brought in recently is employer inductions, which I think has been working really well, hasn't it, Paula?
Yeah.
So we will meet with all the line managers, give them what to expect from the apprenticeship programme, what their employees are expected to do in order to pass the apprenticeship, the kind of support that they may need from them as their line manager. In fact, I finished an apprenticeship last year, and I joined those employer inductions to talk about what it was like for me as an apprentice, and the support that I had from my line manager and my employer, and the support that I wish I'd had in certain, I think actually this could have been even better if my line manager had of. So I think that's really helped, and we've had some great feedback from employers because they feel like, okay, now I get it. Now I know what my employee is going to go through, and I know the kind of support they're going to need. I now feel involved, and I'll support that.
And I think just picking up on that as well, obviously that happens once the apprentice is on the programme, but we offer information sessions ahead of, when they're thinking of putting an employee or taking on an apprentice. So it's right at the beginning, but all the way through. And we also kind of make sure they get information during the application process so that everyone enters into the partnership with the understanding of what needs to happen.
So like you said, it's that three-way communication, making sure that
It's key.
I think with a lot of things, it's about managing expectations. Everybody knows what's expected of them and what they can expect in return. And I think if you set that up really early, it makes for a nicer journey, doesn't it?
Yeah, we don't want to missell anything. So we'll say, to do an apprenticeship, it's 20% off the job training time. They'll have to attend these live talk sessions. We make it very clear the input that's required from employers and from apprentices, because if this is not the right route for them, that's fine. We'll help them, support them to find something that maybe is. But yeah, it's important not to missell, isn't it?
Yeah, and also to make sure they understand, whilst it seems like there's a lot of input needed from them, actually they immediately start to get a return on their investment, because the apprentice is immediately starting to build their evidence aligned to the knowledge, skills and behaviours. So they're having to put into practice the theory that they're learning through the sessions that they attend with us each week.
And I think, Emma, you can probably help me out with this one, as you've done an apprenticeship. What kind of pressures are apprentices facing that maybe we overlook and we don't see?
I think one of the things is identity. So am I a student or am I an employee? I think that's...
Or a parent.
Or a parent or a wife. So it's being able to switch your mind and being able to think, right, I am an employee, but I'm also studying. And those work pressures that happen in the workplace kind of, okay, we've got this big project on, but I need to attend my talk session. What takes precedent? So managing your time it can be really hard for apprentices. I found it really difficult as well. The one thing that's there to support that is the 20% off the job training time that's done in paid work time. So I think having that dedicated study time within your work schedule is absolutely key, and made it manageable. Because if you look back before apprenticeship standards were put in place, when there were frameworks, there was none of this off the job time. So apprentices will quite often be doing their coursework at weekends and evenings. And those days have gone. And I'm also thankful for that, because it makes them more accessible to a lot more people who maybe have children, carer responsibilities. The fact that you can do it in your paid work time really opens the door to lots more participation.
And I think there is a lot of discussion around that work-life balance and leaving work when it's finished and going home. And, you know, if you've got people doing apprenticeships, at different stages of life, they have other things that they need to do. They have other responsibilities. So when we're talking about work-life balance, the work-study balance, is it realistic? Like you're talking about it now, is that?
I think it is, as long as they're supported by their employers, as long as the employers are on board and they help them protect their study time, then it absolutely is. It's not set in stone in the fact that you have to do a set amount of hours each week. So if there is a big project on that you can't attend something one week, you can do double the following week. You know, we allow for peaks and troughs, which supports employers as well as apprentices. But I think it's a lot more manageable now than it ever was. And kind of one of the questions we always get asked by people who are thinking about signing up for an apprenticeship is, have I got time for it?
Yep.
And we're very, like I say, open and honest about the time that you'll have to give. As long as the employer supports it, then absolutely.
Okay, and when we're talking about apprenticeships and apprenticeship delivery, what does quality actually mean in that context?
So I think it's actually not just kind of meeting inspection rules and Ofsted inspections.
Not just ticking boxes.
No, it's right from the beginning, right from the curriculum planning and building your curriculum aligned to the apprenticeship standard and making sure that there's logical blocks there. It's about making sure that the employer, as we spoke about earlier, that they're all engaged, all working together, that the apprentice is supported, that the apprentice has got a mentor, that all of the things are there to help the apprentice be successful on the programme. Obviously, we have quality tutors and academic, and we have people that come along and they're academic, but they also have real life industry experience, and we also have industry input as well. So it's kind of not one thing, and it's not just about inspections or ticking boxes. It's kind of right the way throughout.
I mean, you can't be a provider.
And progression, sorry.
Yeah, you can't be a provider unless you tick those boxes, unfortunately. You know, we have to tick...
Yeah, the regulations and then the inspections are obviously what shapes how you deliver them. But
for us, it's the impact that it has on the apprentice themselves and their workplace. So because apprenticeships by nature, you'll learn this new knowledge and then you have to put it into practice to demonstrate your skills and behaviours. Employers will see quite often a real shift in the employee's performance in the workplace quite quickly. And that's really what we measure the most, is the impact that it's had to the individual, but also to the employer.
And I think you two have a lot of experience in this landscape, and you've seen a lot of things that have changed, maybe a lot of things that have improved. What do you think the next 5 years looks like? What needs to change in the next 5 years to make it even better than it is now?
I think that there's been a lot of changes recently with funding rules, and it's very complex how to, making sure that you're within all of the funding rules and all the changes that the government make, from different times within the year, like the budget changes that were announced to take effect in April. Mm-hmm. Then the funding rules also change every year. So, and the people that join the programs, if they joined last year, they follow those rules.
All the way
so
through.
It's quite complex. So I would say that's one of the things that could be changed to make it a little bit easier.
The administrative burden is quite, I would say, annoying personally, because we spend a lot of time resourcing, meeting the administrative needs, that I'd rather spend that money on the delivery for the apprentices. So I'd like them to remove some of the admin burden. We've had a lot of reforms this year in apprenticeships. We've got assessment reform. We've got the Ofsted education inspection framework reform. We've got a change to levy funding. We've got the apprenticeship funding rules change. So the sector as a whole is sort of, in a way, quite a few people I've networked with are sort of throwing their hands up thinking, where do we start?
Yeah.
Which reform do we need to jump to next? So I think a more strategic approach from the government about reforms and giving a big leading time to those reforms would be welcomed. For example, National Apprenticeship Week last year, they just dropped, a functional skill reform. It just appeared, which felt like out of nowhere. And we're informed as training providers at the same time that apprentices and employers are informed. And I don't think that's necessarily...
You need clearer communication with providers, really.
Yeah, I think so.
With the lead times, and also where they make announcement that change is coming, but then they don't give you the information and details. So everything kind of goes on hold because the employers then don't necessarily know whether to move forward with their apprentices, wait to see what's coming. So everyone kind of goes into limbo, waiting for the detail. For example, in April, they're bringing a new rule in that employers can use their apprenticeship levy to fund short courses. So that's coming in April, and we know about it, but we don't know all of the detail and what it looks like as yet.
Yeah, but they're expecting providers to be ready to offer these short courses. We don't know how.
Without any information. With
no information whatsoever. So I think it's great that they're being innovative and they're moving forward and they're making changes. I think all of these changes can have a real positive impact, but I think it's the timescale and the communication that needs to improve. And I would say the other thing I'd love to see is that with the apprenticeship levy, the government have been making lots of changes. So they've defunded level 7 apprenticeships. I've seen that there's an announcement with CMI looking for a petition to try and support business management apprenticeships because they're obviously in fear of those being removed.
Okay.
I would say that the apprenticeship levy fundamentally comes from the employer. So these levy paying employers pay in 0.5% of their PAYE if their wage bill is over 3 million. It's their money in my eyes. They should be allowed to spend it on what they want and what they need. They are best judged to know what the skill shortages are in their business, and they should be able to take apprentices on to cover those skill shortages or upskill existing staff. And I don't think it's right that the government are removing standards, removing funding, because I think it should be employer-led.
Yeah, you're probably right. And it leads quite nicely into my next question, which is around there's so many new technologies and new skills. The landscape's changing now. Are apprenticeships kind of equipped to roll with that change?
I think so. As a university, we spend a lot of time thinking about AI and new technologies. Yeah. Writing policies around those and how we're going to look at that for our students. It's embedded into our curriculum. So it's definitely something that apprenticeships do take into account, and assessment plans are updated generally every 2 to 3 years. And with that, the apprenticeship standard is written by a group of employers with input from training providers. So with all new emerging technologies, that's always taken into consideration and added into those apprenticeship standards.
I think also with our programmes that are aligned to those standards as well, we have industry input. So we have industry advisory boards that very much work with us. So we're getting constant kind of inputs of changes in industry and building them into our curriculum as part of the review that we do to our programmes each year.
Okay, and thinking about the changes that have been happening, what's on the horizon, what gets you excited about the future for apprenticeships?
I think the possibility that the apprenticeships are on people's lips now. With my son, went to look around sixth forms a year or so ago, and it was really nice to go into a local grammar school and see apprenticeships on the board. Because that's not something traditionally, that was talked about. It's the other thing, isn't it? Really? So I think it's exciting that with the Baker Clause that now schools have to deliver careers guidance around apprenticeships. So I'm hoping that there's more government incentives so we can have more opportunities for apprentices. But I think with all the reforms and the reduction in the length of some apprenticeships and the reduction in assessment burden for some apprenticeships, it's really opening up possibilities. I think more and more people are aware of apprenticeships, and a lot of young people that I speak to, although it's not quite where I'd like it to be with careers advice, at least they're aware that there is an apprenticeship option. Whereas I think 5 years ago, when I spoke to the young people in the schools, they didn't know.
They didn't know it was an option.
No.
Yeah.
No, they thought it was sixth form or college, and that was it.
Which is quite exciting that actually more younger people coming up don't necessarily then go on to have the university debt, as an example. So that's
Yes.
quite exciting for the young people coming up. They have a choice to kind of go down the university degree route or into an apprenticeship, where they actually still can get a degree because they have integrated degrees and they've got
It's
progression.
just a different journey, isn't it?
A different journey, yeah. And also I think it's very exciting that the government are recognising and supporting smaller businesses more. So they are, as part of the recent changes, they're actually doing a co-investment. So employers that don't pay into the apprenticeship levy can now get 100% funding for the apprenticeship training if they are a small organisation, SME or a startup. So that's good news as well.
Yep, absolutely.
That's really great news. So all positive.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
It is.
So, I mean, on a more critical level, if you could deliver one message to the policymakers or, you know, the employers or the educators or whoever around apprenticeships, what would that be?
One thing I've done is I brought into the recruitment process at the university, could this be an apprenticeship role?
Okay.
And I think from an employer's perspective, that's been really powerful because it kind of opened the discussion and opened that thought process. Could we, you know, create an opportunity for a person to take this on as an apprenticeship? And from that, we've seen a huge rise in the number of apprentices at the university as an employer. So
Brilliant.
I would recommend to all employers that if they see they have a skills gap within their workforce, could they use the apprenticeship to upskill existing staff or recruit in new talent?
Okay. That's great. And at Buckingham University, what kind of apprenticeships do you offer?
So our current apprenticeship programmes, we're the largest provider of the postgraduate teacher apprenticeship. We have a level 4 intelligence analyst apprenticeship programme. We have a digital technology solutions specialist programme and an accountancy programme.
Okay.
The senior leader one we're looking at launching others in October of this year in project management, content creation, marketing, digital marketing,
Improvement leader
level 6. So we're looking at a full range as well, going from entry level right up to level 7.
Okay. So some huge plans to expand your provision there.
But we're also always looking to collaborate with employers. So if there's any that we're not offering and there's employers that want to work with us to develop a programme aligned to many of the approved standards, then we're also willing and happy and would like to get involved in that as well.
Absolutely. And you're the ladies to talk to if anyone's interested.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got lots of partnerships now with SMEs, with large multinational companies, but always looking to expand our provision and work with employers to make it makes it a more rich and fulfilling experience for the apprentices if the employers are on board. We're keen to talk to employers as much as possible.
And actually with that, it's National Apprenticeship Week beginning on the 9th of February, and we've got lots of
really
exciting
soon,
events during that week to celebrate apprenticeships and give information and advice to parents, young people.
Yeah, we're doing a free webinar for parents and young people.
Okay.
On the Monday, the 9th, and then we're also meeting with our local MP and our level 3 business administration apprentices are going to be sort of grilling him about the future of apprenticeships and the changes that the government have brought into place.
Brilliant.
And we're also doing an employer forum for all our existing employers. So we can talk about developments in the sector, keep them updated and also get their feedback because that's crucial.
That's excellent. It's really exciting. If you want to share any of that with me, I can pop it in the show notes so that if anyone listening or watching is interested,
Brilliant. Thank you.
They know where to go to find that.
That's great. Oh, and the apprentices are also going on 3B's radio.
Oh, wow.
On campus. Yeah, they've got a couple of sessions which they're really excited about, but also equally nervous about live radio. But it's a great experience for them.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like live radio, is there?
No.
Well, ladies, it's been a really, really good conversation. It's been really enlightening and I've learnt a lot, so I'm sure our audience has as well. Is there anything you'd like to add as a final thought?
Get in touch if you want to find out any more about apprenticeships, either about what we're offering, apprenticeships in general, any information and advice. But thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks,
Emma,
Jeannie.
Paula, thank you so much for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's it for this episode of Ask the Expert. Thank you so much for listening or watching. We hope you picked up some useful insights and inspiration along the way. If you enjoyed the conversation, please give us a like, share or rating on the platform you're using. Please follow Silverstone Technology Cluster on LinkedIn and subscribe to the STC YouTube channel or our podcast on Spotify or Apple, so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you, so if you have any comments, a particular topic or a guest you'd love to hear from, please drop me an email to Jeannie@silverstonetechnologycluster.com. Bye for now.